All right. Dave Schultz with the Schultzycast again. I don't know how to wear hats anymore. Let me see it. This is the 36 hat. That's a special 36 hat. We may. Let's see if we put a different one on. It's not going to make a difference. I can't wear it. Oh, that looks a little better. Anyways, good morning, everybody. It is the 29th Schultzycast. I hope I put that right in the title. Had a great lockdown Sunbelt. You want to check that out with the voice of Barry McKnight, one of my favorites, and really, that is about the best broadcasting voice I have run into. A lot of times you'll get, fake radio voice, not Barry. That's the way he talks. So check that out. We got Cajun softball. Cajuns actually playing Troy in baseball and softball this weekend. Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders not looking particularly good. And Southern Miss actually going to expand or renovations to a Reed Green Coliseum. So there's a lot going on, Sunbelt and the Cajuns. We need to preview Cajuns and Troy. We'll do that again tomorrow. But there was one thing, as someone who has not followed Troy almost at all, other than they're playing better baseball, and obviously they swept Coastal yesterday. Troy has a couple of guys at the top of the lineup that are, a lot like it feels like the guys at the top of the Coastal lineup, Antonacci and Barthol, really hard to get out. Now you got a couple of guys at the top of the lineup that are the same. Cole Myers hits 363. He's got an OPS of 1154. Leads the nation in walks with 55, and he's got 9 home runs and 30 stolen bases out of 32 chances. The guy behind him is Ethan Cavanaugh. He's hitting 370. He walks more than he strikes out. And those are the two guys setting the table. So you go back to that Coastal Carolina series for the Cajuns, and really that's where it all started. It wasn't even the top of the lineup, right? It was a backup left fielder that didn't get on once. He got on twice and started 2 rallies. And that was basically the end of Sunday's game. If not, he did it. He may have rallied in Saturday's game too. They're both on Saturday. Get out of there. Sorry. But it comes down to the free passes. You can't give this team, a bunch of walks. I wonder if they. So if you want to compare the two teams, all right. Troy strikes out 361 times, but walks 301. All right. You want to bet it's not close that way for the Cajuns because they do strike out a bunch. And so it's going to come down to if the Cajuns can keep that top of the lineup off of the base paths and get out. Here's the other key. Get out of innings when you get that second out. If you give up a run or two, you got to get out of that inning when you get 2 outs. Coastal Carolina poured on the runs with 2 outs. Cajuns have only walked 160 times. They've struck out 356. So they've struck out basically the same amount as Troy. The difference is Troy has another 150 walks. So there's 2 top of the guys at the top of the lineup have 90 walks. That's more than half of what the Cajuns have. So that's going to be a huge key to the series. Remember, the Cajuns beat Coastal because their bullpen melted down. It felt like Troy ended up getting to the bullpen. They hit a grand slam. They actually walked one of their sluggers, and the next guy came up and hit one. And again, so made up. The guy who hits the grand slam felt disrespected because the other guy was intentionally walked, even though that's the right baseball play. Again, we actually did it off air. If they pitch to Kyle DeBarge with a base open, and I'm going to care less if it's first, second, or third. I'm not, with a game on the line, maybe not even the game on the line. If it's in the first inning, I'm not pitching to Kyle DeBarge. I'm going to let somebody else beat me. I mentioned this to him. If they walk Kyle DeBarge and Lee Amadei hits a grand slam, tip the cap. I'm not letting the one guy, basically the one guy who's hitting in the lineup right now, all right, consistently. As of right now, the floor is not really hitting. Pastor's hitting 322. Caleb Stelly 304. John Taylor back up to 295. Torres 295. Remember, they had 18 base hits on Sunday. Connor Higgs isn't hitting. Amadei's not hitting. My guy Josh Alexander, who I wanted, hit in the lineup, he had chances last Friday and Saturday and, didn't get the job done. So, again, if I'm Troy, I'm going to let somebody else beat me. I don't care if I'm putting the winning run on or the tying run on. Not letting Kyle DeBarge beat me, and certainly not twice. You do it on Friday, and even J-Dub listening to it coming back from Lake Charles. I mean, Jay Walker was all over it. It wasn't second guessing. He was first guessing. He's like, I'm not pitching to Kyle DeBarge. I know it puts the go-ahead run on, but I can't pitch to this guy, and he hits a 3-run home run. So who would that guy be? I mean, there's so many guys. Brian Brooks, the catcher, he's got 76 RBIs. Is that the guy? He had 17 to begin the season? Let me see if that's the guy. Who had all those, like 17 on the first weekend of the year? Let me see the game stats. Let me see here. No. We had a bunch to begin with, but maybe 3, 6, 10, 14, 17. He had 17 in February. I felt like somebody else had more. Thought somebody had like 10 RBIs. Like a 10 RBI game? I didn't ask him that. Let me see who that is. Maybe Will Butcher. He's got 59 RBIs. Someone had a big, as if that's not a lot. Yeah, he had 9 RBIs. There you go. So Will Butcher had 17 RBIs, 9 in the second game against Southern Illinois, then 5 against Southern Illinois so he had in the last game. So he had 15 RBI, and then throw in 2 more against A&M. He had Florida A&M. He had 17 RBI in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. I mean, that's insane. And obviously, he's having a great season too, driving in 59. So, again, it's a lot like the matchup. You got Brian Brooks with 16 home runs, 76 runs batted in. Will Butcher, 12 home runs, 59 batted in. Obviously, Cole Myers at the top of the lineup is not necessarily going to have a lot of RBI, only 33, but he is third on the team with 9 home runs. All right. So it's not going to be an easy lineup. You have to limit the free passes. It will be interesting. They are a lefty-heavy lineup, all right, which Barry McKnight mentions, but that's also intentional because, the wall is like it's 27 feet high, but at parts it's like 310. So a pop-up can go out. And we'll see how, Herman and Morgan pitch. All right. They pitched better. They certainly pitched well last week, right? Herman went 8 innings, gave up just the 2 runs. He actually got the win. And Morgan gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. We'll see if the rest takes the timing off of the Cajuns or, gives them their legs back, right? I'm old and I'm not an athlete, but, sometimes you like yesterday, for some reason, I slept well and then was tired. I ran out of gas at the end of the workout at Orange Theory. Sort of, I won't say muscled my way through it, but pushed my way through it just to finish. Probably not going as quickly as I could. And when I take a day off on a Monday, when I go, I do it 6 days a week, hashtag humble brag or hashtag idiot. And when I go on Tuesday, I don't have that problem because I'm fresh. All right. I take a day off on Tuesdays. And so we'll see. I did see Jose Torres, the same place I got my haircut a day later. I think DeBarge said, right, how much that, the days off are going to help. Because, again, Taylor and DeBarge have played like every inning of every game. Certainly DeBarge has. Torres has seemed to play the same thing as of recently, right? Like somewhere along the way, you'd think you get Wargo in there to catch, but that hasn't been the case. So it's going to be a fun series. We got J-Dub calling it down here. We got Barry McKnight calling it up there. It'll be on ESPN3, which is probably where most of us will watch it. Really looking forward to it. And I got to do it up against the softball games. When are the baseball games? So softball starts tonight. So that helps out. Baseball games are 6, 3:30, and 1. Can I tell you the 3:30 games? You know why it starts at 3:30? They got a sponsorship. I think one of the attorneys up there, phone number is like 3:30 or something like that. It's due to a sponsorship. It's a great idea. So 3:30 is a little bit of an odd start. Cajuns softball. Obviously, Fridays will both start at 6. Let's see. Well, we can just go to the end. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays at 12:30. Wow. All right. So out of the 2 potential conflicts, we really only have 1. That's nice. All right. Because Super Genius left his expensive Bose headsets at the ballpark. Thank goodness they still have them there. So tonight's game is at 6, but that's softball. They both play at Friday at 6, and then the Cajun softball game on Saturday should be done before we have to worry about baseball. So hopefully I will not be leaving my headphones behind. And God, they are a difference maker. Especially, I don't wear them a whole lot, but on a plane, they're outstanding. The noise cancellation, and they are super comfortable. I mean, I would have the expensive Sony ones back in the day, and it still hurts, Although the flights are not that long, right? I mean, I guess it's a couple of hours wherever we're flying around here, right? I'm flying from, Lafayette to Houston or Atlanta and then to Syracuse. So each one of those is even an hour to Atlanta from here. And then it's a couple hours home to Syracuse. And this time I think I'm flying either to Atlanta or Charlotte and then to Louisville. And that'll only be like an hour. So, but it is a difference maker. And again, I can fall asleep anywhere. I can fall asleep anywhere, anytime. Question is, can I stay asleep? That's a big deal. And you turn on that noise cancellation and you can hear the difference. It's kind of, it sounds like kind of like I turn off the air conditioning in my apartment. That's what, if you're next to the engine, that's what it sounds like, your air conditioning humming. You don't have the noise canceling on, then you hear in the big engine drawer, you put on the noise canceling one, as I'm doing a commercial for Bose. And I got the earplugs too to go work on it. So hopefully we will not leave those behind. All right. It is episode 29 of the Schultzycast. Please like and review. Again, we're up to over 1,200 subscribers on Sunbelt. And I got a bunch of people that I can reply to about the G5 playoff. I'm not a fan of it. It's probably coming. I certainly understand what people are saying. It's not that it's the most ridiculous idea. I just think they're leaving people out because they can. I like the idea. If you want to talk about this for a minute, I like the idea of moving like the top. I don't even know if it's 30. Let me see. Whatever it is, right? You can move the Alabamas, the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Notre Dames, Clemson's, Florida States, Texas, Oklahoma, whatever. You can, and it's a bad name for it. I get it because no one wants it to be professional, but Major League College. You can put them Major League College because as much as you're going to tell me that South Alabama isn't playing the same sport as Alabama is, either is Washington State. All right. Either is Arizona or Arizona State in most sports or in football anyways, right? Either is Mississippi State for the most part. We'll see what Ole Miss is like this year, but certainly not Vanderbilt. Missouri was good last year, but is that going to be on an every year basis? Right. And then you got the Illinois and Iowa. They're not playing the same sport. So, or my Orange from Syracuse. You can get a major league sport. And if you want to do the delegation thing on a somewhat regular basis, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. That would make it interesting. But I'll have the top 25 or 30 teams in the country over here, and I'd put everybody else, right? I would tell you, the Cajuns in South Alabama are probably closer to Syracuse, although maybe not this year, than Syracuse is to Notre Dame, Michigan, and Alabama. That's what I would see it, right? I mean, I mentioned this. It wasn't the year that South Alabama wanted, but they hammered Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And by the way, that turned around Oklahoma State's season. Mike Gundy reevaluated everything, and they were the Big 12 runner-up. That game wasn't close. That's the way South Alabama should have played all year, and could have been a New Year's Six bowl berth, but they just laid eggs all year long. Against Tulane, Central Michigan, the Cajuns. They just did not play up to their potential all year long. But that's a different story. So that's what I would do. I would make a major league college, and I would separate the top teams. And we need something to figure out I'm not even worried about NIL. I'm more about the transfer portal than anything else. And because you got to be able to build a program, and you got to figure it out. Apparently, the NCAA is in conversations with defendants, as it turns out, or no, with the not defendants. They're the defendants with the people who are suing the NCAA because they always lose. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it is. I'm not sure there's an easy answer per se. I do think a G5 national championship is. I see that as lame. That's just me. I'd much rather see a G5 team beat a Power 5 team in the playoff and then get hammered the next week, and everybody say, "I told you so." They couldn't compete, blah 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 blah. Yeah, well, they just beat somebody else, right? So it is what it is. All right, let's see what else we got. We got a few more minutes. We didn't talk about LSU. LSU's got a huge, they got A&M. That's not today, is it? It's not Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know why I would think that. I don't know why I think that at all. Also, there are a bunch of midweek games. I don't know why the Cajuns are the ones not playing midweek games, but they're not. Let's see if that affected their standing. They actually went down a little bit, and then they went back up. They were 53. Now they're 51. LSU dropped 1. They are 41. That's because they played Grambling, although they killed them in a 26-2 deal. Let's see. Do they? I thought it was Friday, Saturday. Yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're playing 8 p.m. God. Oh no, that's got to be Eastern time. So they're playing 7 p.m. I'm sure that's on TV. I do need to, I put that out yesterday that Jay Johnson is already trying to complain about, their RPI and their hard schedule and their non-conference schedule and yada, yada, yada. And, again, win the ball games and you're in. beat A&M 2 out of 3, and your 41 RPI, 43 RPI will, be top 40. Very well, maybe top 30. That may be pushing it because that will depend on what everybody else does. But certainly you'll pop to 33, 34, right? Beat Northwestern State and then take 2 out of 3 out of Alabama. That may pop you more because that's on the road. Then you'd absolutely be a top 30 team, right? And take 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss, and you very well could be a top 20 team. And that's where you're kind of just on the outside of looking in for to host. I guess you could sweep all 3 teams, and you probably would host. But we don't think that is very likely. Do we have an update on? Did not see this yesterday. I mean, I'm really online all day, so let me see here. I did not see the Eckenhauser. Hold on, let me see here. I want to see if he's okay because we still know who's pitching for our Eckenhausen. Okay. Eckenhausen, do we know who's pitching for Sunday? I mean, it's been TBA forever, so let's see if there's been a media update. Nothing. Doesn't seem to be an update. No. Doesn't seem to be anything more as of recently. So, says Nate, this is after the game last week, says Nate Eckenhauser aggravated a hamstring and he doesn't anticipate him missing much time. He could have stayed in the game, but he didn't like how he felt. All right. So, again, we'll see if he pitches. I would probably hold him out, right? You don't want him injuring it and being done for the season. All right. When that may not matter anyway. All right. We did have some games last night in the Sun Belt. Interestingly enough, Georgia State and Mercer seem to be playing a season series, 14-11, Georgia State. Eastern Kentucky beats the Herd 2-1. South Alabama with a big win, 5-3 over UAB, and ULM run rules Alcorn State 17-2. And there was a slate of games on Tuesday. Jack State beat Georgia State 10-5. Wake Forest beat App 10-9. That's got to help App State's RPI anyways. Eastern Kentucky beat Marshall 12-5. Southern Miss had a big win. They had to come from behind to beat UNO, or else they were looking at losing 3 out of 4. La Tech over ULM 8-4. Roadrunners over Texas State. UTSA over Texas State 11-9. And Troy rather, beat Alabama State 12-3. Let's see what if South Alabama's RPI did go up, because again, I was kind of odd that it went down when it did. South Alabama is up to 66. That's one win over UAB. Whew. That was kind of odd. I think they should be in the 50s right now because they took 2 out of 3 from JMU and they went down. That didn't make any sense to me at all. Let's go over, see where these are heading into this weekend. So Cajuns, 51, right where they were. Troy, 46. I think that's right where they were. Southern Miss, 47. And that was a big win against UNO, and that helps out everybody else. Coastal Carolina's 23. They've lost 5 in a row. Who do they got this week? Oh, boy. Coastal Carolina, on the heels of losing to Troy in a sweep, they get Southern Miss. That is an enormous series for both teams. Oh, man. Southern Miss can put that loss to the Cajuns right behind them if they can handle Coastal Carolina. My goodness. And Coastal Carolina sees, and then Coastal Carolina can turn their season around again. I mean, Coastal Carolina was hosting and on, just barely outside the idea of being a national seed. Now they aren't hosting, and who knows how far they could fall. Oh, man. Things change fast. That's an enormous series. Coastal Carolina at Southern Miss. Yeah, they have Georgia State and Marshall. They do get Clemson in there, in Conway. But what an enormous series this week for Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss. I presume, are they right behind? How far behind are they? All right, so Southern Miss is 5 games behind the Cajuns, 2 games behind Troy. Coastal, actually 6 games behind the Cajuns. So here's the deal. Look at this. I mean, this is crazy. Coastal Carolina is tied for 6th. If they lose 2 out of 3 to Southern Miss, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, they are 12-12. They could be sitting, I guess, technically 10th, depending on how the rest of the series go. I mean, Georgia State, South Alabama, Old Dominion, JMU, and Coastal are either 10-11 or 11-10. Coastal Carolina couldn't miss the Sun Belt. They're not really, no. Only because of who they have at the end. They're probably going to sweep the end. So they're not going to miss it, but puts them in a precarious situation. And if Southern Miss can win 2 out of 3, their RPI will be jacked up and looking pretty good. What the Cajuns don't necessarily want is a first game against Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Championship. Oh, man. Can you imagine playing Coastal Carolina? I don't think that would be the case because they would get, I mean, they could fall, but, you want to play the bottom. You don't play the worst teams because only the top 10 teams make it. And I think the first 4, the bottom 4, play in a, play-in thing, right? So it'll be like James Madison versus Old Dominion in South Alabama and Georgia State. And the Cajuns, if they win it, would get the bottom of that. But there's a good shot that, South Alabama keeps on moving up, depending on what they do against the Cajuns, right? They're at App State. That's a huge series for South Alabama. I don't think they've been a very good road team, although they did take 2 out of 3 from Texas State, but they haven't been on the road in a minute. They lost 2 out of 3 at Old Dominion. They did take 2 out of 3 from Troy. So, okay. All right. No, that'll be good. All right, let's wrap things up. A few more minutes here on the Schultzycast. Bad look yesterday with Deion Sanders and his son going after, they did a former player. They did a story, we all saw Deion Sanders go in there and, tell the team, basically, pack your things, you're leaving. There's a way to do that. I mean, who's doing the same thing as Bryant Vincent? I mean, he's bringing in 60 some odd guys. He just doesn't have the cameras following him. And I think there is a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And, you can say, thanks for your efforts. And, maybe here's where you could think about going. I don't think, cleaning house is a surprise when it comes to a new program, right? I think, Fran Brown's doing it in Syracuse. That happens all the time. I'm sure Del McGee's doing it at Georgia State. New coaches come in, and at whatever reason, the player doesn't fit the program. Whatever the case is, right? And now you get to bring in more players, right? It's different now. Before, you're only bringing in a bunch of freshmen. Now you can bring in a bunch of experienced football players. But it didn't look good. Then they put on a highlight of Shedeur Sanders. I could be wrong, and it's a nice throw 40 yards downfield, but to me, that's playing catch. If you can't make that throw, I don't think you get any bonus points for making that throw. I think you should get bonus points taken away for not making the throw. If you're just there yourself and the wide receiver, that's a problem. At least that's the way I see it. Also in the Sun Belt, there's this kind of a combo between Lockdown Sun Belt and the Schultzycast. Reed Green Coliseum is getting renovations. I presume that'll take a few years. I guess I could look into it, how long it's going to take. So we'll find out, what's going to happen for college basketball. I mean, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. You got 6.5 months to get this done. They're building it also for, they don't have, place there for bigger concerts. All right. Now, again, here's the thing. All right. With the Cajun Dome, and WWE does well, and Nate Bargatze was just there. That does very well. What has not done well since they refurbished it has been the basketball team. Careful what you do. All right. Careful what you do. And again, with the JMU doing their football stadium, keep the demand. Don't try to oversell the stadium. That's the thing. I'd much rather have less people there or a smaller attendance, but it appear to be full, and then have a demand somewhere along the way. South Alabama, I don't think South Alabama sold out their new stadium once. Now, it opened up during COVID. Maybe in the first year that they had fans, which would have been Kane Womack's first season, so 21. I mean, there was weather every game. All right. Is that an excuse? Whatever. Especially when you're competing with Alabama and Auburn, it's a reason. And we took a tour of it, and they can expand it to 30 or 40,000 if they want to, but right now there's no reason to. That stadium is perfect size for South Alabama and the Senior Bowl and the bowl game. If JMU can expand it to 30,000, I would do it. There's no reason to make it 40,000 and thinking you're going to get 40,000 every game. I'd see if we could sell out 30 before we get 40. Maybe make it to the point where you can make it 40 if at one point in time, but I'm not sure there's a reason to do that. I mean, I know they get good crowds, but did they sell out every single game last year? I mean, butts in the seats. That's the thing. All right. Things that are going on with me still. Well, first of all, he didn't weigh in. I might weigh in after Orange Theory today. We had the Elise's Pizza and the Blizzard. And we may go to Pete's for lunch today. Pete's is open. That's not too far away from me because we're going to end up at the ballpark later on. I could get lunch over at Pete's. That's reopened. That's nice. We'll check that out. That seems to be nicely done. But we'll weigh in today and see how that goes. And then we'll weigh in again Saturday or Sunday. Again, I was down 20 pounds. I put on a little bit, and certainly I didn't weigh in after the pizza and the ice cream. It is May 1st, so I only got 2.5 weeks for the graduation. I did go to the I think I said this yesterday. I went to the job fair. It was late, of course, or late-ish. But my jacket fit. I could close the buttons on my jacket, which was nice. I haven't been able to do that in a minute. If I could lose another 5 pounds, be 205 by May 18th, that would be outstanding. So we'll see how that happens. All right, in terms of what's going on, it is still a process. It is, I would say this, it's very interesting. It is one of the more thorough processes that I've been around. I'm not going to say what it is specifically yet. But as somebody, I'm not sure paranoid is the right word. That may be a little bit harsh for me, but certainly always concerned when you don't hear back. I don't think I've gone more than 2 or 3 days without hearing back. I've had a couple of interviews. I think I interviewed on a Monday. I followed up at the end of the week, kind of pushed them along a little bit, and it worked out well. So then I had another interview on Tuesday. That would have been last Tuesday. And then so I'm going to follow up before the weekend just to say, hey, how's it going? And they followed up with me for references. Then they followed up on Thursday. So I don't have to do anything on Friday. Then they followed up with me again on Sunday. Then they followed up with me again on Thursday, like Monday or Tuesday. And then they followed up with me again yesterday. So there seems to be some interest. We'll see. I have something here potentially and something somewhere else. So we'll see. The thing here is pretty cool. It's just not a full-time gig. That's why I went to the job fair to see if I get something. I started to put it this way, mindless, where I'm not taking it home as a part-time gig, and the other one is a full-time job. So we'll see. The full-time gig wants a big commitment. We'll see how committed they are. That's the big question. Because with all due respect, when I asked about the commitment of the previous position that I had here, they weren't quite as committed as had been indicated. So that's why it didn't work out here. And I'm not moving for, if we're not fully committed. That I won't do. All right. I've taken a couple of jobs for the money, and both times they have not worked out. I am not taking a job because it may pay well if you're not all in, so to speak. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Schultzycast. We'll be at Cajun softball tonight. We'll have a recap for that. I still don't think I've put out the Matt Daggs stuff or Jerry Glasgow, so we can do some of that today. Got to get the car serviced, so I'll be sitting here. And also tomorrow we're again, I'll start and perpetuate these rumors. We're expected to have Butch Jones, the Arkansas State coach. That'll give us half the coaches in the Sun Belt Spring Tour. That's pretty good. That'll be a lockdown Sun Belt. So that's not bad. Again, 2 of those, probably not. Desimo will be next week. One just had a player pass away. So again, we're going to, not push that at all. So that's what can you do about that? So we'll probably have 2/3 of the coaches post spring football. All right. Thanks so much. Again, 53 watching. We went a little bit long. Got to get over to Orange Theory. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Schultzycast. Please like, rate, and review. We do put it up immediately on Apple and Spotify. So we'll get that up there before we leave for Orange Theory, or else you know what happens? I forget. Thanks so much and have a great day. We'll talk to you again on Friday.